on Liberty 88.1 FM.
Well, folks, let me say a pleasant good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the that's the show, the Eagle Talk Show here. This Saturday, well, the second of the first rather. It is the first Saturday, also the first of the month. That's February 2025. And I'd like to say good morning, wherever you are, Liberians in the 15 counties of the Republic of Liberia. Good morning to all of our leaders. Good morning to those of you listening, and also those of you following via our YouTube channel. Welcome, and it's a pleasure to be here this Saturday, especially discussing issues that are relevant to improve our society. So today we are opportune to have in studio with us the President of Liberia, Mr. Julius Kanubah. Remember, he once served the so again, I'd like to say welcome to it. All of you who are following, please, you can also leave your comments on our YouTube channel. And we will also give you the platform. We'll open the phone lines so that you can call and have your suggestions, make your views, your opinions on what are some of the issues we're going to talk about. So also you can go to our Facebook page. You invite 5 persons to follow, you get yourself a dollar card, or you invite 2 persons on our YouTube channel to subscribe. You also get yourself a dollar card. Go on Ku-Wor TV. Mr. Kanubah, good morning. Let me say Happy New Year. First meeting you. This is our first interaction. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
To form part of your important platform at this particular time. Greetings to you, greetings to your variegated audiences. I know you broadcast live on radio, and like you said, on the social media platform and the YouTube. So it's always the institution has got staff. Those support staff can be able to give you the relevant information that you need. And so we've been pushing to ensure that the union is advanced in terms of how the union is run, and giving the reports by the technical working group, the executive committee of the PUL, comprising all permanent committee chairpersons, to ensure that there is a dialogue between us elected leadership of the union, the intern committee, and us, and then we can be able now to move in certain directions.
Well, folks, those of you out there listening, we are in conversation with the President of Liberia, but they also know what's the next action. You as a president, your team as a whole, what's your next action in terms of all of the debts, the amount? Where are we? Do you have the funding to ensure that all those debts are paid for?
Well, the institution has got the social capital, that is different relationships, the trust, the reputation. So we will use that as a leverage to move the institution forward. But also, like in the meeting, we have both internal and external sources of resource mobilization. Internally, first, we will have to ensure that the membership contributes or mobilizes the necessary resources to ensure that we can be able to service our debt. The debts are huge, right? So we also intend to engage people who are also off the media, right? And that is the extent of our work. And the union, I mean, like I said in our reports, or in the reports by the technical working group that we're releasing, has got 6 different bank accounts, and all of those accounts are in red, meaning 0 balances. In fact, because there's no money in the account,
before you took office,
and every time you have to pay a fee every month. That, for example, if you are banking with EcoBank, Today is the first. They take their $4 from your account because they are providing you services, or I think $360 when you have an LD account, so to speak.
Yeah, so with all of what you talking about, colleagues are out there listening and they want to know they are being dues pay. And before you resume office, were you expecting such stuff to happen, such event to happen where there will be no money in the cupboards?
Well, when you're taking over from one administration to another, because there were several challenges that the membership, or you as an individual observe, that's why you want to take over. So you can shy away from the challenges or the successes of the previous administration, right? So we expected that there will be challenges because we know it is on those challenges that we agree to volunteer our services to the PUL. So yes, we expected those challenges. And besides that, we came from a prolonged crisis. So obviously, when an institution is in a state of dysfunction, you will expect that, yes, there will be significant challenges at the PUL. So the issue of membership dues, right, was one of the critical issues we discussed. In the past, Wayfair, myself, other journalists, they've not been able to pay their dues to the PUL. And the union as an institution has not been able to enforce the issue of dues collection. So our administration, we have a mandate to ensure that we collect the dues. So when you come, for instance, maybe we'll come to that particular topic on the issue of membership registration.
That could be the next point where
the union got the authority to register all persons who are practicing journalism, media, and communication in the country, right? You've got that responsibility. You've also got the responsibility to register all media institutions in the country in terms of their institutional membership to the PUL, because we have 4 categories of membership: the full membership, the associate membership, the affiliate membership, and the institutional membership. So, for example, Liberty Radio, like I saw outside, in one of your facilities, you got a permit from the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism through the Bureau of National Communications. That permit allows you to operate for a certain period of time. Then you renew that permit. The system that we are introducing is that as part of getting that permit, you have to pay your institutional membership dues to the PUL. Because if Liberty Radio is in conflict with the government, because on your permit that I saw, it said any ethical breach, this license or permit can be revoked. So at what stage do we consider something an ethical breach, right? They say the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism that would decide, or is it the governing body of journalism, that is the PUL. And so that is where it is important that all media entities have a membership with the PUL, the institutional membership, because there will be time people might not like the broadcasts of Liberty Radio or some of the staff of Liberty Radio, and to silence the staff and say, no, we are withdrawing your permit. That's when you need a collective approach to ensuring that your permit is not suspended or revoked or withdrawn. So we intend to embark on the membership registration in this month. Hopefully, like we said, out of the second month, we'll start the process, because the membership committee has been working to clearly define all of the criteria, right, and put up certain guidelines in place, because it is the membership registration that caused the conflict in terms of the manipulations of that and the membership registration. Who is a journalist? Who can become a full member of the PUL? Who cannot become? Who should hold the associates, the affiliates, and the membership categories of our union? So those are the critical areas that will make the membership stronger. And to be a good standing member of the PUL, you must register per the Constitution. You pay a registration fee of $10 or its equivalents in Liberian dollars, right? And then when you hold a full membership, which is the most talk about membership in the PUL, because it has got certain rights, especially the right to vote. When you hold that membership, you are responsible to pay or obligated to pay a due of $5 per month.
Per month.
Minimum. I mean,
I used to hear every year, but
No,
now I'm hearing
no.
every month.
every month. The registration is annual, meaning $10. That's the registration, right? You have an annual registration of $10. You have a due that is due monthly, $5 every month, meaning 5 times the 12 months that we have in a year is $60 plus a $10 registration fee, $70. Crucially, during the meeting, the membership resolved or adopted a motion and passed that motion. The motion is or was that every month, every member of the PUL will register, pay their dues, and pay a fee of $5 towards a welfare fund.
The issue of
The membership has created a welfare fund now, so that tomorrow, if Wilfred, Julius, or another member of the union is not in a good health condition or faces some significant challenges, there's sometimes in the journalists that or members of the PUL that and the family of that particular person may face some challenges, right? Even if you are in a critical health situation. What we do, the tradition has been that we put your picture and your name and then start to mobilize resources. But we have to have a baseline funding so that people can be able to take care of their own welfare at a certain stage. Because if you collect $5 from welfare every month for welfare fund for myself, and the day I get sick, I mean, collectively, people can be able to intervene through the institution we call the PUL. Those who have more, for example, will be able to give more in terms of the welfare fund. And we will map the different actors within the union in terms of their resource status, so to speak, to help. Because journalists from across the country, we are challenged, but we can't keep emphasizing these challenges without looking for solutions. There are people sometimes who are journalists. We've had instances where some of them, they are very single, so to speak. Sometimes when they pass away, no one is there to clean that particular body.
Okay.
Right. So we have to do all we can to ensure that we take care of the welfare of the membership. Right. Then the membership is tied to the issue of ethical journalism, ethical media practices. So what we are working on and we enforce is the behavior bond. Per the Constitution, before you become a member of the PUL, you must sign a behavior bond. Behavior bond, we are relating it to the Constitution, of the observance and adherence to the Constitution, the issue of the ethical code and conduct for Liberian journalists and media practitioners. For example, what you have as your permit as Liberty Radio, if you breach the ethical code of journalism, right, of media, the President has a committee on grievance and ethics through the National Media Council to investigate and then come up with a ruling. When that ruling is made that Julius is guilty of certain things or Julius did not violate, it is the responsibility of the leadership to enforce the ruling of that particular grievance and ethics committee. And there are different mechanisms that we can use to hold the membership accountable. We are linking the issue of the PUL membership card as a form of license for journalists in the country. These days, because of the advent of social media platforms, you have one person, one cell phone with data in it, and they do recordings, and they say, we are a journalist. Okay. So we want to change that dynamics. Even if you're operating like that, you must come to the union. We have to assess your professionalism. Okay. Because other professions in the country, like the lawyering profession, lawyers, right? The nursing profession or doctors, right? People will have to go to school, they will have to go for different training in the programs, and they will have to get certain experience or experiences before they can be able to operate as a professional.
So let me just...
For the media, the Constitution of our union says to be a full member of the PUL, for example, you must have practiced for 5 years. Okay. Or you go to a university, obtain a degree in journalism, media, communication, and you practice with a degree for 2 years to become a full member. If not, you can get an associate. So if you don't practice in line with the constitution of the PUL, if you don't have a membership of the PUL, your professionalism will be questioned. And this is where that we need to work now to professionalize our own sector. Because Wilfred, throughout your life now, I mean, as you go along, many people will know you as a journalist or media or communication professional, right? So to make you more professional, there must be a governing body. Like the lawyers, they have the Liberia National Bar Association that is under the Supreme Court of Liberia. And the bar, in fact, the act was legislated in 1907. You have the nurses, the doctors, they have their own organization, right? So the media too has got its own organization. That's the PUL. And the PUL must work with the membership to ensure that our space we have, press freedom, media rights, journalist rights, we protect that part. Because Wilfred, if you are not governed by a professional self-regulating body, you know what can happen? The government at times might not like your style of broadcasts. They could tell Liberty Radio, please remove him from on air, or we shut you down.
Let's go to this. You talk about due payment. That's been one of the major issues at the President of Liberia. How well are you ready to enforce this? And there are other journalists. Yes, you want people to pay, but media institution, they don't really pay their workers.
Yeah.
And so how can I, Wilfred, I work throughout the month, I only get $20. Yeah, I have family, right? I get $70. I have family. So can I every month take $5, go to the UNPA due, and wherein I'm not getting the needful? So how well are you ready in getting the institutions as well?
Yes, it's a critical question, and that has been one of the major challenges of the PUL and one of the problematic areas of media practices within the country. Some institutions, we should be clear, are paying, right? They're paying their staff, taking care of their staff, and those institutions might either be receiving some resources either from the government through advertisement or are supported by the government, the ELBC, for example, the Liberian News Agency, for example. You have, like the ECWAS, radio, for example. So you have different media institutions with different capabilities. But the key question is, at most of our institutions, people are working without being duly paid, right? So the welfare committee that the union has is working, for example, on an assessment tool. The assessment tool, there was a project made yesterday by our colleague, Orita Bonose, on a welfare committee, about how this welfare committee would ensure that the welfare of journalists, which of course is linked to the issue of salaries, benefits at different institutions, to ensure that we enforce the constitution, right? So we'll do a welfare of journalists in the country, a welfare assessment of journalists in the country. We'll come to Liberty Radio, for example. How much do you make? When did you come to the radio station? Do you have employment contracts? How well are you paid in terms of what is your salary range? What is your salary? Do you have insurance scheme in place? Do you take salary on a timely basis? And so we'll know all of your demographic information. We'll know all of your institutional information, so that we can be able to release the report to the membership, to the public, to know that you want to be a journalist. This is the current status. But again, crucially, the union has got a responsibility to ensuring that media operators like Liberty Radio, like ECWAS Radio, OMIL or ELBC or Inquirer or Observer, right? They are on an obligation to pay in their staff. You can't operate a radio station and you employ people or you hire them on the basis of a contract, or even you bring them on internship or on some sort of a different contractual arrangement. And after every month, you say, come and renew your probation. You stay on probation. For that, we want to make sure that it does not happen. If you employ Wilfred at Liberty Radio, his contract is clearly defined, and if there are challenges in sourcing revenues or incomes to pay him, he must be able to know that he can decide whether to remain at Liberty Radio or to go, right? But the union is on an obligation. Media operators, media owners, they must pay their staff.
You talk about
Yes.
ethics,
Yeah.
and I want to come in. When media practitioners are not paid well, the issue of like we would say a cateau, it comes in. This is the question: what is the media doing to ensure that the issue of appreciation, cateau, especially working with media practitioners in institution, come to a slow pace, be put to an end? And what are you doing to ensure that almost all of the journalists have access to the PUL Code of Conduct?
Well, the last parts of your question, the PUL Code of Conduct, what we also reveal in the meeting is that the PUL had a website, online platform, besides the social media platforms that we have. And that's online platform, the website, because somebody had the keys to the website, and unfortunately the person passed away. So it's like the institution's website is also down. So we intend to digitize the membership registration process, for example. We intend to digitize the issue of the membership database, right? To put everything on a digital platform.
Okay.
Today, if you want to know whether Wayfarer is a journalist, you just click his name, you search, you see all of his basic information, right? You can be able to know his experience. So as part of that is the issue of this ethical enforcement, is to make sure that the membership complies with the Constitution. So to ensure that the membership respects the Constitution is to have the Constitution given to the membership. The Constitution has got the core of ethics, right? So if you pay your dues, you pay your registration, right, you are entitled to a copy of the Constitution of the PUL. In as much the Constitution was on the platform, the website, but you can't access it now, right? I mean, sometimes there are students from different universities or some journalists, they want to investigate. They do get to the leadership, ask for the Constitution, the core ethics, and we just share it online. But we will make sure that you have a copy with you, either through the digital platform or a physical hard copy of the Constitution that has the core ethics of journalists. There was a leadership, I think it was either the Peter Kuwe leadership at the time, they produced a small booklet, right? Just like 2-3 in the pages, very small. You can put it in your pocket. It was almost looking like this sort of a small Bible, right?
Right. Those books are also accessible in the counties where the coordinators can also share with media practitioners in the country.
Small booklets. Once you have it, you can put it in your pocket, and the booklet is the PUL core ethics, just separated, just small, just produced. I think Kalis Hesu, for example, was one of the persons on that committee. I should have one at home. So we'll draw on some of these past traditions, past practices, to ensure that the membership has access to the Constitution of our union, the core ethics. Because before you sign a behavior bond, you must be able to read, and the behavior bond will be related to the core ethics and for journalists. So once you have it, you can be able to read, and us too would need to be held accountable by the membership. If we are violating the Constitution, the membership can hold us accountable. Even the registration, for your information, should have started in November of 2024. But because we don't have the system in place, we don't have the different mechanisms in place, we did not start it. And we have to be open to the membership, right? So once you come to register, you will have access to everything. And at a certain stage, all of these things will be online, right? So we are working with some IT specialists to ensure we create a new website if we cannot recover the previous website domain that we had. And we are also working to ensure that the membership, for instance, like you said, our colleagues are in Maryland. I see you with your Maryland top. And despite the fact that you suffered defeat. So our colleagues in Magibi, our colleagues in Bong, in Lofa, in or Grand Jide, or Sino, in the Grand Crew, River G, River Sets, right? Or in the Western Belts, like in the Grand Cape Mount, Bomi, or Bapolo, or even Bassa, even Montserrat. You can sit anywhere you do your membership registration, right? And what we also intend to do, and we are working on, is to have a mobile money number.
Okay.
For example, there are some journalists, they just transfer from their mobile money to another number.
Pay their dues,
right?
and other stuff.
Right. So we intend to have all of these things in place shortly, so that we can proceed with the issue.
Here is it. Last year, some of the journalists said there were no trainings for journalists, and when you go into the public, right, you see the proliferation of journalists coming up, and sometimes the followers, people who follow these platforms and also on the radio, they get angry at the way some of the journalists present or make their presentation. What specific partnership are you doing now? Are you making to ensure that journalists around the country be trained in the way they present their show, the way they go live? Because sometimes some of the questions, some of the way they react to the newsmakers is looks so bad for the media.
Well, it's an important question, Wilfred, but just before I answer your question, I'd like you to give a commitment to your listeners. Are you willing to pay your registration fees and your dues?
Of course.
Okay, good. So like you, many other people who do it, right? That's the consensus in the PUL. In fact, the issue of the welfare fund,
even if they could start this month, I could pay
fine
today.
So despite all of the challenges, right, the media institutions are also challenged. Those who have these media entities, they are doing business or businesses. I mean, from different, whether it is religion, it is political, social, economic, they have some form of capitals that they do generate, right? The reputation of the institution, right? So what we will make sure to do is that we will advocate for you, but also when we're advocating for your welfare, for your salaries and what have you, you must be able to pay your dues and your registration. Right, it's a small amount. I mean, it is small. There was, how about us in the counties run a radio station, for the radio station to come on this? Can we take the welfare fund from $5 to $1? But the membership said, even if you're collecting $1, how will it help you if you are sick, for example? Right. So yes, I like the fact that all of you pledge to ensure that we enforce the membership due collection, we enforce the membership registration, because in the past, I mean, and all of us are guilty, myself, right? We don't pay the dues. It is only time for elections that we pay the membership dues if we are contesting for opposition, right? So we want to change that.
Even sometimes they waive it, just tell you pay it for ID card and other stuff.
Because if you are in leadership, you want to get elected on elections, will you be rigid to collect dues from the membership that will vote for you? You say, oh no, I suspend you. So it's a good move. Then you get the votes, right? But for us to ensure that we have this sort of a new culture of dues payment and the utilization of the dues for the welfare of the membership, we must ensure we collect it, in a year that is not election, because 2025, the president will not have election. 2026, there's no election. So we'll produce 2 membership registers. And if your name does not appear on the 2 before the election year, when we produce the election year membership register, that will be like March of 2027. Elections will be in November 2027. So from March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 7 months before the elections, right? If your name is not there, you can't participate in the president election. What happened to the Bar Association? The Bar Association, I mean, the Association of Lawyers, they have, hundreds of lawyers within the country, thousands, right? Maybe more than 1,000 of lawyers. But guess what? Only 403 were eligible to vote in the Bar elections because they were in good standing, right? So if you don't pay your dues, you don't register in 2025. 2026, you don't register. When you come, you will have to clear your previous debts before you are given the membership rights. Yes, because we want to ensure the profession is regulated and that the membership benefits. That's where your question comes in, the issue of trainings. Trainings have been going on, right, by different organizations in the country. And it is because that you practice as a journalist, that you are a member of the journalism community, that sometimes These training opportunities are provided by these organizations. So the press union has got major international partners, the USAID, the US Government Agency for International Development. They support the media in the country, in Liberia and around the world. For example, Internews is implementing an 11 million US dollar media development intervention funds by USAID. The money is not for Internews, right? It is the USAID, the US government, that is giving the money to an international media organization to help the media in the country. That's why the press union forms part of that implementation.
Okay.
But because of the crisis, that was in the pause.
But now the US is saying they're going to pull her to one of these.
Thank you.
How you intend? Because
you are well informed, and that's what we said in the membership meeting. We received a message from Internews that the USAID is under instruction by the US government not to proceed with the implementation of its until after a period of 90 days, because it is under review, right? I mean, President Donald Trump, he took over and he's instituting certain policies, right? Like when we took over, the same policies that you know, he's doing it differently because he's a president for the United States.
Do you think it's going to greatly affect the president of Liberia and the Liberian media?
It's not even the Liberian media, the health sector, the education sector, the natural resource governance sector, right? The media is a small portion. For example, there is a project here by the USAID on education, 75 million US dollars. So if that is on pause for now, it's a huge impact, right? The media sector too is being affected. But for now, we will do the assessments, right? But also have Internews, you also have different partners, the European Union. They've been able to support media development in Liberia through their various. You also have different organizations in Africa and around the world that are interested in promoting freedom of speech, the rights of journalists, and to capacitate the media to function within a democracy or within a society. So we will leverage all of those opportunities. We should also be able to say that we will form partnership with the government of Liberia to ensure, for example, that the government can be able to put the press union of Liberia in its budget, right, through a legislation.
Have you started the negotiation?
Yes, we were in the process, for example, for the press union to be included in the 2025 budget that was passed. But in the process, by that time, we had just taken over. The finance ministry had already drafted the budget, submitted to the legislature. So we intended to go to the legislature, but then a major crisis erupted. So could we have gone to the minority lobby or the majority block? And if you go to the two blocks, one of them incorporates you, and then the Supreme Court rules whether for or against. So we thought that let's pause and observe the crisis, because the union's got a position in terms of the rule of law. And let's observe by 2026, when the 2026 budget is being crafted this year, maybe the last quarter of 2025, we can negotiate with the finance ministry, the legislature, for the press union to be included. And one thing President Kofi, the former president, did, he succeeded, was to lobby for the press union to be in the budget. That was a major success. The only failure is that we did not get the money that was allotted or allocated in the budget for the PUL, where the money was appropriated but not given to the union.
Or say there was no follow-up?
Well, we can speak. So we'll learn from this example to ensure if the press union is allotted certain amounts in the budget, we have the funding.
People believe when you received money from the government, it means you have taken its side. You have taken this out. Do you mind looking for your own fundings and distancing yourself from the government, so that the media will play that neutral role in advocating for the Liberian people and pressurizing the government to do the necessary development that the people need?
But the first thing that we need to have as a media community is that the media is a part of the government, right? It is the media that makes, and sometimes it is the media that breaks the government. You are a voter, a citizen. You pay taxes. Your media institution, you pay for that particular permit. So if you are a media institution, a member of the PUL, you are a journalist, a member of the PUL, you are paying rent, and the government takes some of the money and give it to you for the upkeep, the development of your organization. Then you bring the issue of neutrality, of objectivity. Well, for us as a union, the press union is always known to be an independent professional organization.
Okay.
No matter where you get money from, perform your role in accordance with societal expectations of the institution. For that, people know us. Like we went to ELBC a few times, the classes at ELBC, right? We met the workers' union leadership. We spoke with some of the workers at ELBC who are members of the PUL. We met with the management of ELBC, from the top manager, the director general, deputies. And we came up with an independent position on the basis of our of the KDC. So we are not afraid to take money from a government that the people of Liberia elected. The only thing we will not do when your character is maligned, right? You are somebody who is known to engage in clandestine activities. It is the obligation of the leadership of the PUL not to side with you, right?
Let me announce the number, then we continue. Those of you listening, you're listening to the program Eagle Talk Show on Liberty Radio 88.1, and it is also live on Ku-Wor TV right here. And we are in conversation with the president of Liberia. If you want to have your say, you want to express yourself, call us on 088-073-2453. Those of you journalists listening, and some of you the advocates in the civil society area, of you say, call us on 077-77-32453, 077-77-32453, 088-073-2453, 088-073-2453. Wherever you are in Monserrato and its environment, you can place in your call, and then you're going to be part of the presentation this morning on Liberty Radio. So this is it, Mr. Kanubah. Since the inception of the WICA presidency or leadership, have you received any complaint concerning journalists' behavior, practicing unethical practices within the media profession?
Well, as soon as we in October 2024, we got complaints. So some of these complaints were even written before we took over, right? So yes, we received many different complaints by people from the society about the conduct of some journalists or media institutions. We've been able to intervene. We've also seen that, yes, some journalists and some actors within society have been involved in certain conflicts. For example, the beating of journalists, disputes between journalists and certain actors. We've made the necessary interventions. So yes, but the complaints might not be specifically from the government of Liberia, because the government is very big. So what we have actors within and outside of the government that have complained to the PUL about the conduct of some of its members or media institutions. And the union have been able to intervene in some instances. We're able to intervene. We are doing all to ensure that these interventions are made.
Now, I would like us go to this issue of the War Crimes Code. Within the TRC, there are some recommendations that the President of Liberia needs to do. The issue that has to do with those journalists who died during the war, giving them memorial service, and then the issue that has to do with death certificate, especially those journalists who died from Nigeria. Where are we? Because this government talks about establishing the War Crimes Code, but there are some issues that need to be addressed within the TRC before the establishment of the War Crimes Code can be done. Where are we, Mr. President? What's your leadership going to do?
The TRC processes have been long. the president has been involved in the issue of the promotion of justice and accountability within the country and holding people accountable for wartime crimes, right? The TRC report has got portions about the media. In fact, like you rightly said, some journalists were killed as a result of the conflict and as a result of being a journalist, whether from Liberia or also of Liberia. So yes, we will work with the relevant agencies that are responsible to ensure, as long as the government has embarked on the process of implementation of the TRC report, right? For example, we had a meeting as one of our engagements with the Office for the Establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. That office is also responsible to establish an anti-corruption court, right? To bring the policy mechanisms or the governance mechanisms to establish the anti-corruption code. So the union, like you rightly said, will work to ensure that these things are done. That is why we are working to have conversations around these things with the relevant government actors to ensure, yes, that we can be able to memorialize our colleagues. Because, I mean, one of the best we can see Dennis Senior. He was at the age of 5. He was the 3rd president
of the president
of Liberia. So imagine, the president was formed on the 30th of September, 1964. But prior to that, these people were practicing journalism. So he died, right? I mean, he was involved in the different mediation efforts, to bring back the PU together.
Okay.
So these are people that we have to celebrate, right? We have to celebrate people who were affected as a result of the war. They met their untimely death. So yes, I agree with you 100% that we will have to take some of these things and elevate the conversations because, like we all know, journalists in journalism, they do play an important role within society. And to do so, you must be able to create the necessary environment to ensuring that both journalists of the past and journalists of the present are recognized and are celebrated for their work.
08807324453, 08807324453, 07777324453, 07777324453. The numbers you can dial to the program this morning on the Eagle Talk Show on Liberty Radio 88.1. The issue of the Liberian media, right, is something cardinal and reasonable. Let's look at, let's take this very first caller. We lost this person. So you can redial the number 07777324453, 08807324453. The issue of our headquarters. The public wants to know, some journalists want to know, how can the president, because when you go to other country, you see media institution, they have their own headquarters. How is it with this Julius Kanubah leadership?
Well, the headquarters project of the President of Liberia is one of our key manifesto pillars, right? We campaign to and with the membership that we will work to construct the headquarters of the PUL. Like I presented in my elaboration here, we have an asset, that is the land, right? It's a form of capital. So, like I also said, we will engage the government of Liberia to ensure the president is included in the national budget.
Okay.
So, that inclusion in the national budget is indeed about the construction of the headquarters. That's the intent, right? To ensure that we construct our headquarters. Because, like you all know, I mean, historically, the president got $100,000 from Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in her own capacity when she was president of the of the Republic of Liberia, right? And they're in dispute. They went to court. The money, like we said, it does not exist any longer, right? The 100,000 is no form of accountability on that money. That money is one side. During the previous administration, we are aware that 10,000 US dollars was given towards the headquarters project, right, by the late political leader of the People's Liberation Party, right, in Bomi County. That money too, we have no trace, right, of that particular resource. The former Vice President, Mr. Daniel Yanko, famously said the money was in an escrow account. But per the status report of the PUL that we got, there is no escrow account that has got any 10,000 US dollars. Where the membership is pushing towards audit. At the appropriate time, that will be made known. Because audit is also good, whether there were abuses or successes in the management of the resource in Liberia. All of us will have to know so that we can be able to learn from what the previous administrators of the union did, right? And us too, the day we are leaving the PUL as an administration, right, we will have to be audited. One of the saddest things is that the president has not been able to audit itself for a very long period of time. And this has affected some transactions with different organizations. Because some organizations, when you are applying for funding opportunities, like you said, to train journalists, for example, if you are one of the prime applicants, you must be able to have a sound financial management system in place. Do we have it at the PUL? Well, from different assessments, no, right? For example, how do you procure goods and services? How do you pay your staff? How do you ensure accountability of resources that you receive, right? So regarding the audit, it is incumbent upon the leadership and the membership to ensure that this is done at a certain time, because it will be crucial to construct the headquarters of the PUL. In fact, the assets that we have on 14th Street, the land, right? We are in discussions with different actors to see how we can be able to leverage that land to construct the headquarters. So if we are lucky, in 2026, right, if the government puts the PUL in the budget, right, let's say 100,000, 200,000, or 300,000, we can hire a contractor, reach an agreement to construct the first or second floor of the building, and we move on. But also, the membership has got the capability to also raising resources from within, right? We've got some people who have practiced journalism, who are in different fields now, in different areas of work. Some have pledged give us their support. We held discussions with person who practices journalism, work for international media in Liberia. He pledged an amount, for example, or he's thinking about giving the union between 5,000 to 10,000 US dollars. That could be very helpful. That can be very helpful, at least to setting this sort of a baseline funding, getting it, and then asking for more. Then they will have something around 30, 40, 50,000 US dollars. We commence the headquarters construction without delay.
What's your biggest plan for this year to move the union forward?
Well, the biggest plan is based on a lot of activities. The registration of journalists, enforcing the ethical code, having conversation to promote the issue of different intellectual discourses within the country, bringing back the union, and then advocating to ensure that the president is included in the 2026 budget. We also plan to actively engage the membership in terms of dues collection. That's a big plan because we need that culture. We also plan to engage in a lot of sporting activities, promote social harmony in the PUL. And what we've also got, we've got different actors in the union who, because of the conflict, they took different sides, but everyone is coming together now, which is happy. In fact, your own Charles Coffee, the former president, you're a friend, you're a son, he's a good mentor. And people do forget, I normally tell people in journalism, when I was growing up, President Coffee, he helped us a lot. For example, I was at ELBC in the early 2000s, right? And so these are every mechanism that we can be able to use to move the president
Lastly, to what kind of media you want to achieve after you shall have left the year?
Well, the institution as a whole, a robust, credible, integrity-oriented institution that will ensure that the ethical core of journalism and conduct is adhered to, is respected, and that will ensure that the larger society has got respect for journalists, media and communication professionals, but also the media entities that operate within the country. We want an efficient leadership, an effective leadership, or leadership that will be accountable to the membership. And any funding or fundings that we receive as a leadership, it will be made known to the membership. How it is utilized, the membership will be involved in these allocations in terms of the resource use. And we are also thinking about relocating from the place to headquarters because we are in debt. We have to clear some of the debts to move on. Because we intend to create a new PUL that will be for everyone and that will have a conducive environment to operate. Where we've been has been very, very helpful to the institution. And we thank our landlord also for giving up the time, and I know they call every time to ensure that we clear our debts. But we are working to have a credible, integrity-oriented institution. That's our fundamental responsibility. And don't forget, we intend to create media hubs across the country. In Maryland County, we'll create the structures that are in place. The guys in the counties, our colleagues, they've been reaching out to us. When are you appointing a coordinator? Well, we are changing the system. It is now one county, one coordinator. What we want to do to have at least 5 persons providing leadership roles, serving as servants of the people. For example, we will have a coordinator, an assistant or deputy, a secretary general, an assistant secretary, and financial secretary, so that together we can collectively govern the media sector in each county. We don't want the system of coordination to be overly abused or used as a tool to deny people membership of the PUL. We want collective leadership, but also resources that the president mobilizes can be able to go back. If journalists in Maryland County pay their registration fees, their dues, their welfare, if something happens to them, the president will have to intervene. So allocations will be made for the journalists across the country. And we intend to make sure that the journalism community is capacitated training-wise. I mean, you asked the question with the answer. Look for training opportunities to ensure that we are a stronger media community.
Julius Kanubah is the president of Liberia. Folks, that's how we come to the conclusion of today's presentation of the program, the Eagle Talk Show on Liberty Radio, also on Ku-Wor TV. You will follow those of you who try to put in your call but didn't go through. Join us next week, and we hope to have Mr. Kanubah another time to talk on more media development issues that can improve, that can build the Liberian media. You know, we are the watchdog, so we must play that pivotal role, that neutral role, so that every one of us can build our country. My name is Will Wilfred Dorsey. Do have yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Yeah, yes, sir.